Welcome back. This is episode 2 of my realignment series here as the Oakland Athletics 2028. Um, I've done a little bit off camera since the last episode, as you can see. Still have to finish filling out the minor leagues, but we're getting there. Um, I just wanted to cut in here because today is the Rule 5 draft. We will be picking up at least a few players in the Rule 5 draft, I imagine. Free agency has been going as well. Um, first year of an expansion team doesn't really make sense, I think, to sign a lot of big name free agents, especially since I'll likely have to do some adjusting of the balance here. I maxed out our scouting and development initially in the off season, and I would like to get this, not in the negatives for our first year, just to keep it realistic here. So, in terms of actually offered contracts, other than the large amount of minor league contracts we've got right now, there are a few players, just two relievers. Kevin Kelly had a good year for the Rays, who are now the Expos last year. 1.3 WAR, 2.97 ERA. He looks like he's a solid reliever, age 30. Just giving him a 1 year deal. Trade bait, basically. Ditto for Yuki Matsui. Very good ERA for San Diego with 2.3 WAR. Only asking for $1.5 million. Again, maybe not the most realistic thing. You'd expect a reliever, having that kind of season to demand more money. But again, if he's going to take 1.2 million and we can use him as a trade bait target, we're going to do that. So let's get into the Rule 5 draft. Rule 5, these are players that will have to leave on the roster the entire season if we draft them. It's, kind of a crapshoot. I haven't looked to see who's even eligible this year, so we're going to find that out live on camera here. So let's see if there's anyone interesting. And normally with the Rule 5, you'd want someone who would be fully major league ready. I don't necessarily care as much about that this year. If I have to keep someone on my roster that is probably a minor league player but projects to be a good prospect, I might just do that anyway. Someone like Gerson Florentino, he probably is still, hasn't played above high A ball, but has good ratings and projects to be a pretty good player. Pitchers, let's see. 20-year-old and Nixon Sanchez. Yeah, he also projects to be a pretty good player. Only 20 years old, but hasn't played above rookie ball. Jesus Colina hasn't played above high A. Well, has played briefly in double A. But again, solid ratings. So, what do we do here? We have, at the moment, 5 open 40-man spots. Will I use the full 5 slots to draft players? Probably not. Let's see who else is out here. Nick Altermat. He seems okay. Only 30 stamina, though. Carlson Reed. That's an interesting name because even though he was playing, he's currently at high A, played most of the season at A last year, but did briefly have some time in triple A. Ratings do look good enough if he can get the control a little bit higher. Doesn't have amazing stamina, but I think he's interesting. Yeah, let's throw him on the short list there. And batters, we don't really have any positions locked up long term at the moment. Truly just going to be best player available kind of for the Rule 5 draft here. I don't know if I'd consider taking someone like Castillo, who is rookie A-ball type of player. I could. I'll try to make it somewhat, I guess, realistic in terms of ideally a player that would be, high minors type of player or someone who is major league ready, like a Christopher Torin. Put up 1.5 WAR in AAA last year. Let's look at stats too and see. Sometimes that can lead you to some good players. If we look at, I'm mainly concerned with AAA at the moment. Alex Mooney, that's the type of player that you'd expect to see go in a Rule 5 draft. He's got high leader, high work ethic, can play multiple infield spots. Probably wouldn't want him at shortstop necessarily, but could play there in a pinch. Solid second and third baseman. Good speed, very good steal. He's 25. I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind him at all. Omar Martinez, catcher with not great defense, decent bat. Carlos Rodriguez, almost the exact opposite, has pretty solid defense and not an amazing bat. Does walk a lot, also strikes out a decent amount. Let's see. Yadiel Sanchez. Let's also see, because I do like those elite fielders, who else do we have out here? Drew Jones has amazing defensive ratings. Pretty mediocre bat, but you don't necessarily mind that when you have 70 across the board in all of your outfield ratings. He would be a great center fielder if I'm focusing on defense. And, he put up 2.1 WAR with an OPS of 87. OPS plus of 87. OPS of 740. Yeah, that's just turned 24. I don't hate that. Michael Ciani, 75 range, but again, hasn't played in the majors since 2025 and put up negative WAR in his season with the Cardinals. So, yeah, a lot of these guys are older types. I would ideally want someone under 25. Your Alex Ramirez's, he's decent. Do we have any infield guys that put up high WAR? Christopher Torin. He was someone that we looked at earlier. He is only 22, but is playing in AAA. Has solid defense. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't hate it. Let's look at 4 pitchers. Put in a filter here and see what we have in terms of FIP. James MacArthur, 31 years old. Not interested. Let's go ahead and customize this actually to just show me people that are at most 25. I'm not too interested in anyone older. Jacob Miller looks like an interesting name. Put up decent numbers. Not amazing in A ball. Much better in AAA. He looks decent. Quentin Lowe. His control sucks. Everything else, low work ethic too. What about Saul Garcia? He was a reliever, but could be a starter. Ideally, I mean, he's only got 2 good pitches at the moment. If you're using him at the major league level, he would be a reliever. All right, let's look at WAR. We saw Jacob Miller, Alejandro Lugo. Yeah, I mean, he's okay. No one that's really standing out a lot. Carlson Reed is someone that we looked at earlier. All right, if we look at potential, Quentin Lowe, we looked at him. All right, I think I'm just repeating some of the ones we've already seen now, but Brody Hopkins. What have you got? He's interesting. Yeah, that's about all I can say. He's interesting. All right. High velocity guys. Anyone out here who looks Jurangelo? I have no idea how to pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to try. Yeah, he looks interesting too. He's only 2-star potential, 2-star overall, but if a few things go right, could be a solid starter if we can get the stamina up, if these develop up here. But he's got a great pitch mix here. Not amazing control. But he's interesting. And these are kind of, your freebies. If they suck, we release them and it doesn't really cost us anything. So, all right. All right, so if we go to all players, how many do we have here? We have 6 players and potentially 5 spots. So most likely what will happen is at least one of those guys will be taken. The Stars draft before us. We'll see kind of what their target is. And if you were curious, everyone that I got in the expansion draft, I did go ahead and throw on the secondary roster. We don't really have anyone that would be in danger of being taken in the Rule 5 draft. A lot of these are kind of the dregs of the minor leagues that were out here. So this will solely be addition here. Future years, we may have to look at protecting players, but as for right now, let's see who we can add. We'll start the draft, and they do take Drew Jones, who is someone I was heavily considering with my first pick. Well, now we are down to just the 5 on our short list here. So that'll make it pretty easy if none of those other guys get taken. And if they do get taken, we may just roll with 4. Catcher's always an interesting position too to try and grab here. Usually there's some decent ones out there. Out of all these names, I think Carlson Reed was the most intriguing. Alex Mooney also quite intriguing, but Carlson Reed looks like someone who's got good potential. If you can get the control a little bit higher, he's going to be a great pitcher, even though he's only pitched at A and a touch at AAA. In terms of a Rule 5 draft guy, he seems like a good pick. All right. And let's go ahead and auto draft here and see who else was taken here. Peyton Remy, Rodriguez, Carlson. Yeah, I mean, no one from my short list. Pedro Ramirez, was he one that we looked at? He looks fairly solid for a 23-year-old. Mooney, I think, is going to be the pick here. I like him. He is 25, but he projects to be a solid player. He'd probably be a backup, but I don't hate that. Let's go with that. All right, and Starlin Kaba. All right, so out of these three, Hopkins, Gerangelo, I will learn how to pronounce his name. Yeah, let's go with Hopkins. All right. And I don't think we're in danger of either of these guys being taken, most likely. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we are the only ones who even made a pick in round 3, 4, and 5. So, kind of freebies. I don't mind that. And we'll go ahead and complete the draft. All right. And what are we looking at here? Slight adjustment here. We've got now 5 Rule 5 guys. Most likely, if I had to guess, going through spring training, not all of those guys will be on the team opening day. But we'll have to wait and see. So we are now past the Rule 5 draft. I can kind of sign free agents at will. I'm going to go ahead and keep filling out the minor leagues off camera here, and then we're going to go ahead and next up will likely be international free agents. Maybe I'll stop at preseason too, just to kind of give a sense of where everything lies. I don't think I showed on camera yet either. Our development lab I set up before the same day that the last episode ended. So some of these guys, are Rule 5 guys, obviously not eligible to be on there yet. Santana was one who had a day-to-day injury. I might look to get him in there as well, because you can't put anyone with any kind of injury in the development lab, which is, when it's a day-to-day injury, it's kind of frustrating. But currently the only short-term prospect we've got in here is Sanoha. He is frustrated. He's got a chance to maybe complete this successfully. Likely won't be the case. So yeah, maybe I'll sim to when his development complex is done. Beyond that, we've got the international free agents. If we sign any other free agents, I'll note that at some point as well. But yeah, we'll pause here and I'll do some off stream. So, see you soon. All right, I am back, and just a brief update here. It's now January 1st. Sanoha, as kind of expected, no improvement from his development program. We did also successfully sign Yuki Matsui and Kevin Kelly. Matsui did successfully pass through waivers, and Kelly did not. So I'll need to make room on the 40-man. That probably means getting rid of one of our Rule 5 picks. There's a few guys that I don't mind losing in here. So out of these, I think, yeah, Gerangelo. Let me see. I do like to roughly keep about 20 pitchers and 20 batters on the 40-man. So we'll see. if I have an imbalance one way or the other. I'm not sure. Okay, I am at exactly 20 of each, so probably getting rid of one of my Rule 5 pitchers that I have here, and it's probably going to be Durangelo. Let me look at Brody Hopkins again. Brody is a few years older too, and did not put up great numbers. So, all right, apologies for that awkward cut. My air conditioning kicked on. I am in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are already starting to get into some unfortunate weather here. So, as I was saying before, Brody Hopkins is likely going to be the pick here. He didn't put up great numbers in the minors last year, and he is over 25, almost 26 years old. So, um, you know, Brody goes back to the Phillies, and Kelly goes on to our roster. So, still working on filling out the minor leagues. We do have to put in another player in the development lab, and who do we have that is not currently? We could do one of our picks like Torin or Santana. Santana, I love the defense. And typically with the development lab, I know the conventional, thought I've seen is that you want to try to target your younger players, your prospects, and you want guys that you want to improve something where they still have potential left to realize, ideally, because the only way that potential actually goes up is if you get an excellent result on your development lab. So that's why I've chosen all of the ones that I've done here. Typically, I don't go for the really hard ones because those rarely succeed. And even you can see all but 2 of these are likely to not succeed, depending on how this bar goes, which we'll see at the midterm progress. So let's go ahead and do we want Santana? Do we want Torin? I mean, both kind of are similar players. Torin's a little bit younger, has more power left to realize. Yeah, I'll go ahead and try power on Torin. And we'll go from there. Oh, okay. So we're now at the point where I cannot do a longer program. Apologies if you hear any background noise. My cat is also nearby. Let's see. So Torin, in that case, we're going to want to try to find someone who we can improve defense or base running or base stealing. So Torin may not be the best candidate for that. He's certainly an okay candidate for that. Santana, yeah, see, Santana has good speed, has good stealing ability, but also could get that a little bit higher. So let's see if we can make him an elite base stealer with this program. All right. Going to keep adding minor league players. We've got about 2 weeks until preseason starts. That's typically when I think budget has to be adjusted by. So I'll take a look at that, and kind of these numbers will likely go down a little bit. We are technically in the green right now, but I typically like to have about 5 to 10 million to play with throughout the season for waiver wire ads, trades, things like that. So yeah, go ahead and keep simming, keep filling out the minor leagues. We've got a good amount of the minor leagues filled. Still probably want to add maybe 20 more players in here to fully fill out these rosters. So I will pause the video now and see you guys soon. All right, back in here. It's January 18th. Not a whole lot to report on. Um, the Adrian Santana base stealing program is on track, which is good. We got the minor leagues pretty much filled out. I'll go through and do some manual adjustment of some prospect type guys. Your Daniel Simpkinses of the system here. Um, you know, I'd like to go through anyone with 2.5 star or greater potential, manually adjust those guys to the level where I think they should be. And I'll, show you that as we get closer to the actual season start. Something I noticed too, if you care about the budget details, for some reason, our draft budget was set to over $30 million, which you can see the recommended slot amount only 11 million. I bumped that down and was able to max the development and scouting budget, which is what we really care about here. Likely draft, we can go a little over slot. We're not going to go $20 million over slot, most likely. We are getting close as well. The beginning of February. For some reason it doesn't list it in here anymore, but I believe it's February 6th is when we are getting the international free agent signing. I'll definitely show that. Today is the Hall of Fame voting results. So let's see. I can also go back, and I don't believe I did that in episode 1, so I'll go back and see who got inducted into the Hall of Fame in this fictional save as well. So Hall of Fame voting results. Albert Pujols inducted into the Hall of Fame his first year. No surprise there. I think I did go and make it so past players were eligible again. Alex Rodriguez eligible, inducted. Robinson Cano inducted in his first year of eligibility. Same with Yadier Molina. That's not a surprise. CC Sabathia took 3 years, which is a mild surprise. He's a guy I would expect to probably go in his first year. Let me see if in league history, Hall of Fame voting history. So, 2025. I don't know if this has the actual 2025 results in it. I think that's correct. I think no one got inducted in real life in 2025. Ichiro eligible in his first year. He got in with 80% of the vote. That will likely be much higher in real life. Carlos Beltran just missed, but then was inducted the next year, and you can see the rest of these guys here. So, up next, we'll probably just sim until international free agency. So I'll see you then. Back with a brief update here. Just got the halfway mark for a bunch of our development lab updates. Most of them not going incredibly well. Santana is excelling in his base stealing. We do love to see that. Bello and Ferris both on track. Bello barely on track, but still on track. Everyone else is frustrated and unlikely to complete, although Clace is extremely close here. New to 26, you can remove the player from the lab and put another guy in at the halfway mark if you believe they're not going to complete it successfully. Most of these guys, I'll probably just roll the dice and see what happens. If they get a frustrated result, it's just a no change in their ratings. If they get under this orange line, it does potentially reduce their ratings, and I definitely don't want that to happen. So for some of these guys that are particularly close, Snelling and Coffee are the two I'm looking at. I think I will just go ahead and remove them and throw in 2 other guys with a short program, just, kind of mitigate some of the potential bad effects that can happen there. Everyone else, I think I'll roll the dice. They've got a halfway it could go 50-50 potentially. I don't know how much this meter moves over time. But we'll go ahead and remove Coffee, and we'll remove Snelling. And in their place, who could use some defensive improvements or base stealing improvements? I do like to target guys that have, good but not great stealing ability. Clace is an interesting one because he's got 80 speed, but 70 stealing ability, 65 base running. He has 25. I think he is already in the lab for another. Yeah, he's in the lab for 2 strike already, so can't do him. Who else are we looking at here? Alex Mooney was one of our Rule 5 picks. He has 80 stealing already, 75 base running. Yeah, I don't hate doing base running for Mooney, even though he is 25. All right, let's look and see if there's anyone. I did sign some guys to minor league deals. Yerlin Rodriguez is one. That's an interesting name. A lot of these guys are minor league contracts with a major league option. So, they may not end up being part of the club. Jesus Baez is another interesting name. I actually just claimed him from the Mets on waivers. He's only 22 and has a lot of potential left to go. But in terms of defense, well, I don't hate defense for him, actually. And ideally, I want to try to find guys with high work ethic as well. I can see. Let's go ahead and change this filter. And work ethic. We want miscellaneous. No, we want general. Okay. Work ethic is high. Michael Catalano. Yeah, pitching, there's not really any good short programs that I can do. Defense on a pitcher is not super relevant. Well, it would help if I changed it off of all pitchers. Serda, we could look at trying to get his catcher defense up a little bit. I wouldn't hate that. Santana, I think, is already in the lab. Ditto with Zanatello. Let me double check that. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Serda defense, we could do that. It is hard, but they did change it where I think every defense is hard now. People in the last OOTP 25, that was typically one of the best choices I think you could do for your players here. Baez, I'll look at defense for Baez too. So we're getting close to one other brief thing I wanted to mention here. If we were running this like a real baseball team, you'd probably want to have some players to bring in fans. As you can see, our fan loyalty is quite poor, which is unfair to those poor Oakland fans who lost their team. I think the fan loyalty would probably be quite high, but fan interest at least is quite high in our expansion team. So I went and looked at players who had extremely high local popularity. I did go ahead and sign Colin Ray. You can see extremely popular locally. And Nolan Arenado, available on a minor league deal. As you can see, he fell off quite. Apologies for the rough cut there, but yeah, Nolan Arenado is another name. Again, extremely popular locally, and just signed him to a minor league deal. So We'll see how those guys do in spring training. There's a chance they make the major league club. If not, they're a pretty low investment. So we're about a week or two away from international free agency, so I'll go ahead and see you then. All right, welcome back. Some developments here. For some reason, I never got any kind of notification about international free agency starting. So there have already been quite a few signings, as I noticed. It looks like next year signing doesn't begin until February 4th. This year, for whatever reason, it started several weeks earlier than that, and I didn't get a notification. Not sure what went on there. It does mean a lot of the big name guys at the top of the draft are no longer there. But fortunately, my strategy going into this was not going to be to go for any of the top guys, most likely. More going for these guys that I can get for a little bit cheaper, and just try to get more prospects, more chances at hitting it big, essentially. So let's just kind of start with Jorge Vela here, and he only wants 700,000. I typically try. I know typically you want to go under their demand, but in the interest of not letting the CPU bid against me, sometimes it's good to go a few over, so that you don't get in a bidding war with the CPU on these guys. Sergio Flores. He's someone who might already have offers, and he does. He's someone who I like, though. He's got high work ethic. He's got good batting potential, decent fielding potential. Thomas Cox was another name. His power's great. Extreme development risk, which is a new rating. I haven't seen yet how much that actually affects development here, but we'll see. Mel Acevedo. I do like to look at to league interest to see. He's one where there's very low interest, so ideally he's one that, and sometimes I find that doesn't necessarily apply. He's low interest, but another team has already offered on him, but for less than he was asking for. So we're going to go ahead and make him an offer similar to what he was asking for, see what he says. Sergio Flores, we will go ahead and make an offer on too. We'll probably get, so yeah, all right, he might be a little bit out of our budget then. Thomas Cox, has he had an offer yet? Oh yeah, okay. So Cox is out, Flores is out. Let's look at Jose Contreras. He doesn't have great control. He is fragile. Typically, I found too, for whatever reason, there aren't as many good pitchers in international free agency as there are batters. And the one good pitcher I was looking at already got taken by someone else. So Contreras is someone who, for 180,000, sure, I will. And yeah, occasionally you get this weird glitch too. So let's offer him 10,000 more, and he will accept that. All right, and Avendano is a 3-star prospect, durable. I do like that. He's just got decent ratings all around, but for, we're kind of budget shopping here. 970. I'll bump that up to an even $1 million. Wow. Okay, so we've got offers out on 4 guys now, with about $1 million left in cap, $1,200,000. I'll leave it there. I'll go ahead and stay on camera and sim just because I want to see, what ends up happening with these guys. I imagine some of them will get outright. Some of them will probably have to bid against the CPU, as Santana is successful in his base stealing program. That's great. Okay, stealing is up to 70 now. Awesome. We love to see that. All right. So quick side track to, do we have enough time to put another? We do. Okay. Who else do we have? Cutter Coffee. We had tried to do a long-term program on before. He's someone that we could look to improve his defense. Santana is another person who, well, defense is already pretty good. I doubt that would be successful. Yeah, why don't we try Cutter Coffee infield defense? All right. And back to international free agency. They all favor my offer currently. Avendano. Leaning towards a deal with the San Francisco Giants. Okay, what are the Giants offering you? 1,200,000. Okay, we will meet that demand. Okay. And all right, Acevedo wants more money, but Vela has signed and Contreras has signed. So let's go ahead and see Acevedo. He wants $2 million. Sure, but I probably can't go much higher than that. Avendano now wants more money. Okay. 15. Yeah, 1.5. Just barely under cap here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and meet that demand. Okay, he wants all of my money. Exactly. I mean, if you can squeeze that extra $60,000 out of me, why not? All right, and we are getting close to the start of spring training. All right, Cerda and Baez both frustrated in their programs. Let's take a look here. When you say frustrated, how frustrated is frustrated? For Cerda, pretty damn frustrated. For Baez, also pretty damn frustrated. Okay, let's go ahead and not take a chance on those. Do we have anyone at AAA who's got some potential for base stealing? Encarnacion is at a 75 stealing rating, 55 base running. Jarrett Curtis, who is minor league filler basically, besides his elite stealing ability. Cooper Kinney's another guy signed as a minor league free agent, and I wouldn't mind trying for defense on him necessarily. He's 25. You try defense on Kinney, and we can try for stealing on Encarnacion. Let's go with that. Stealing on Encarnacion and Kinney, infield defense. Okay. Acevedo is on board. All right. And so we've got one offer still pending. Will Avendano sign? He does, in fact, sign. All right. So our international free agents, we've got Jorge Vela is our big signing here. Actually, yep. Okay. For some reason, I thought he was only a 3-star player, but 4 solid, well, really 3 solid prospects plus Contreras. I don't hate that. That was pretty much my ideal scenario going into this. Maybe trying to save some money to go for some of these bottom guys, but you know, I don't mind. I spent all my money, and we get more shots at producing a good prospect here. So let's go ahead and go to spring training. Welcome back. We are at the start of spring training now. I don't quite have the full 60 players that I want to throw on a spring training roster. Our depth in the minors is pretty non-existent right now. So we'll just see what we have here. A lot of this, a lot of our roles are pretty up in the air. I'd say a lot of these guys are with major league contracts. Guys that are on the 40 man are pretty well positioned to make the team. Other guys will probably have to have a good spring training to kind of justify a spot on there. Rotation as it stands right now, Mitch Keller, he will almost certainly start the year in the rotation. Ditto for David Peterson. Spots 3 through 5 are questionable. I think all 4 of these guys have minor league options, and could start the year in the minors depending on what I want to do. We've also got guys like Colin Ray, who could potentially be a starter. He was a starter last year for Cleveland, even though he wasn't amazing. Lots of guys that could start for us. Someone like Yuki Matsui is almost definitely going to make the team to start the year. And then lineups, I've got a few, Brooks, Lee, and Sanoha. These won't be their everyday positions. I just want to get their ratings up so, I have options in case of injuries, guys underperforming. Again, this likely will not be our lineup to start the year. A lot will kind of depend on spring training. If there's any injuries, we'll see how things go. So I'll go ahead and start simming through spring training. If there's anything interesting that comes up, I'll stop the sim and let you guys know. Alright, we have just finished going through spring training. Fortunately, no major injuries to report. Correa was already injured in off-season. And one other small change that I've made is I kept the expanded rosters on through May, so I've cut my roster down to 30 players. It'll stay at 30 through the end of May, when it'll go down to 26 and then expand back out to 30 in September. So kind of a weird thing. I liked the expanded rosters when they had those during COVID, and I just kept that for my OOTP saves. So here is the roster I'm going with to start the season. Our starter, Mitch Keller, remains in the rotation. You might notice David Peterson no longer in the rotation. He was pretty awful during spring training. Keller was not much better, but with Peterson, we've got the 2-year contract versus just the 1 for Keller. The hope is that he can kind of maybe rebound during the regular season, and I can use him as trade bait. Peterson may be a lost cause, and he also declined slightly in March, according to my scout. Signs are not great for him, so we'll see if maybe he can turn things around in AAA, assuming no one claims him off of waivers, which he's on a 2-year deal for $10 million a year. I would be shocked if someone did. Jackson Ferris had a pretty good spring training, 4.63 ERA, but his FIP was second highest on the team, and that was in addition to some pretty bad BABIP luck as well. He, I think, still projects as a good starter for the future. I could have him start the year in AAA. I think he did well enough to start in the majors. We'll see how he does to start the year. Trying to ride that balance of putting out the best possible lineup versus letting guys develop in the minor leagues. And you'll see that when we get to the lineups too. I did some, you'll see. Jose Montero was another expansion pick. He's a guy that, I successfully was able to increase his velocity in the dev complex, and you can see his ratings have all gone up as a result. So he's now a 2.5 star starter with room for further improvement. He is almost 25, but let's see what he does to start the season. I mean, he had a really good spring training. Um, yeah, we'll see what he does to start the season. I'll also go through briefly our development complex results. Nothing too crazy to report besides Montero's successful completion. Chorio, unfortunately, had a poor result and had ratings drop as a result. He is still a 2.5 star player, but he will be starting the year in AAA. More on that later. Jackson Ferris, successful as well. His movement went up by 5. Was that reflected? Yes, it was. So he's now 2.5 star overall, 3.5, 3 potential player. His stuff went up. Actually, these are just other adjustments. It doesn't even reflect his movement. So he could improve even more as the season goes on. We'll see. Encarnacion was also successful for his base stealing. He's now up to a 75 overall stealing ability, but we'll start the year in AAA. Cooper Kinney, no improvement. Everyone else was no improvement. Yeah, going through the rest of the rotation, Trey Gibson, another expansion draft pick. He's 26 years old. You know, he still potentially has room to improve, but given that he's 26, almost 27, probably won't. But his ratings right now still project to be pretty decent. He had a good spring training. He'll be part of the starting rotation. DL Hall is mainly here because we are already paying him a major league salary this year. He didn't have a bad spring training, but he didn't have a spectacular one either. You could do a lot worse for your 5th starter, I guess. I'm not too upset about that. Our bullpen, Oviedo, who is a guy that we picked up as just a minor league free agent signing, if he had more stamina, he'd be a great starter. But since he doesn't, he is going to be a reliever. He had a great spring training. He had the best FIP on the team. I think it makes sense to put him in the closer role to start the year. In case you were curious, Yuki Matsui is not starting the year with the team. He had an awful spring training, 18 ERA. Several games where he gave up multiple earned runs. I don't quite know what happened. He didn't have any, ratings go down. It could have just been some bad luck here, but given that there were multiple games that this happened in, I'm not. He wasn't also on the 40-man roster, so I'm not going to use a 40-man spot on him yet. Hopefully he'll pass through waivers again, and I'll be able to keep him in AAA, see if things kind of improve for him. Because, yeah, he had a great season last season, and I'd love to see him repeat that. So, and from there, I just kind of went by FIP because everyone else that made the team, for the most part, had a good ERA in spring training. Henry Lane, Durangelo makes the team. Kevin Kelly and Carlson Reed, my apologies, are our setup guys. And then the only one who is questionable at the moment is Blake Burkhalter. He's one that is mainly here because he was on the 40 already. He didn't have a great spring training. There were other guys that I wanted to send down and have them start the year in AAA. Guys like J.R. Ritchie, guys like Brock Selvage, Robbie Snelling, who are kind of on that cusp but could potentially develop a bit more. And I'd rather just, have Burkhalter there when he's 27 and likely isn't going to develop anymore. So that is our pitching roster, and for our everyday lineups here, we've got Narvaez as our starting catcher. Cerda, I'll probably just have them, trade off roughly every other game. Neither one really, Cerda had a pretty good spring training. Narvaez had a decent spring training, and we have Connor Burns in AAA, who did not have a good spring training, so he will start the year in AAA. We'll see. He'll be our third catcher if there's any injuries or one of these guys struggles to start the year. Nick Samillo was a expansion draft pick, a late expansion draft pick, actually one of the final picks, around 31. Um, but he had an incredible spring training. Small sample size, 11, 17 plate appearances, but look at that OPS, 1.2 OPS. And that's good enough to make this team to start the year. So he'll be our starting DH. And just going down here, Cooper Kinney, he was a minor league signing. He doesn't have great defense, so he'll be our starting first baseman. Also had a great spring training. He makes the team because of that. B. Lee Brooks Lee is, already a major league player. Didn't have an amazing spring training. May be one of those guys that loses playing time depending on how he does to start the season. Baez was a waiver wire pick who, again, had a decent spring training and will make the team because of that. Christopher Torin will be our starting shortstop. And that's mainly because he's a Rule 5 pick. I want to see if he's able to develop. And two of our other top players, we've got Adrian Santana and we've got Zanatello. And both of those guys don't have any major league service time yet. I'd like them to start the year in the minors. The probability that one or both of them get called up during the year, I'd say, is decently high. Santana especially, since he's going to start the year in AAA. Both are on the 40-man. This just makes sense to see kind of what I've got with Torrin to start the year. He didn't have a great spring training, but he's 22. He's got room to improve, and he's a Rule 5 pick, so I don't have the option of sending him down to the minors. So he's going to start the year as our starting shortstop, which is fine. Alex Call, 33 years old. He was an expansion pick. Will probably be more of a DH / left fielder. He had a decent spring training. He's someone that will probably look to trade potentially. He's arbitration eligible. We'll get $6 million next year, which is, probably more than you'd want to pay him, given that he didn't play at all in the majors last year. But he will be one that hopefully we look to trade. Chorio, now he is only 22, but he's lost a little bit of potential here throughout the months of the off season, and I still like his defense to play center field. The other Chorio, Byron Chorio, which I looked it up, they are not related, although I believe we have Jason is the brother of Jackson Chorio. Byron is not related to either of them, though, so there you go. He will start the year in the minors, get a little bit more development time. He's only got 21 days of major service time, so Chorio has none, Jason Chorio, but he also has gone down in potential, and I don't particularly mind that. One of them has to be up, and I'd rather let Byron potentially continue to develop in the minors and save on some service time. So we'll stick with that. Clase will be our starting left field or right fielder. He'll be center fielder if any injuries happen. He's a major league player. Again, not much else to say besides that. And then our bench consists of Cerda. We've got Juan Brito, who can play multiple positions. Can't play many of them very well, So we'd probably only look to use him at first and second base if possible. Could play maybe left field in a pinch. I think I have him, as our third left fielder because we're a little thin at outfield currently. Miguel Vargas really is a first base DH kind of player at this point. He's another person who's getting paid $4 million this year. Might look to trade. Not someone who we're going to be keeping here long term. Sanoha currently listed as a left fielder, but he really can't play every position, and I wouldn't mind any of these. Maybe shortstop. You'd be a little hesitant to put him there with only 55 infield range, but every other position, you don't mind. And his bat is, decent but not great given what he's shown in spring training. Pretty perfect utility guy, which is, kind of what I expected when I got him in the expansion draft. So he'll be used in that role. And Alex Mooney, Rule 5 pick, we're going to see what we've got with him. He is a captain, which you never hate to have on your team. He's got 80 stealing, which is also a plus. So we'll see what he does. Joey Ortiz, again, mainly here to get paid. And he did put up 2.2 WAR last year. He doesn't have great defensive abilities. Hits lefties pretty well. We might look to maybe start him against lefties. Let me see. Yeah, we can swap it so he will be in the starting lineup. And these starting lineups are largely the same, except I swapped in Vargas in place of Kinney. Kinney's a lefty, so we'll have Vargas start against lefties. And we'll have Ortiz start against lefties too instead of Baez. Other than that, we'll be largely the same. I might fill out the defense and pinch hitters sections at some point once these lineups are more finalized. We'll also see if most of these guys make it through waivers. I expect that most of them will. And Jose Bello is one to watch in terms of prospects. He had a nice little boost in there where his potential's gone up despite only his control and stamina going up here. He has 3.5 star potential and is only 22 years old. Fragile, injury proneness, but you would consider him one of our top prospects right now. Currently, our minor league system is 32 out of 32 overall. That hasn't been updated for the start of the season, but we'll see how things go. These will be our starting roster to start the season, and we'll go ahead and go from there. So our next episode will start with opening day versus Seattle. I will be simming the large majority of these games, except if we make the playoffs. I'll play those. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I'm interested to see how this team does. I am not optimistic that it's going to do well. OSA, player rankings would agree with that. We don't. Joey Ortiz is tied for 16th best, and that would be potentially our best player. So that's, we'd be lucky to win more than, 60 games this season. And preseason predictions, just for fun, let's see what we've got. Yeah, they predict us to win 65 this season. I'd say if we stay sub 100 losses, I would consider that a successful season. We're likely not making the playoffs here, especially in a division where the D-backs and the Raiders are expected to be pretty good. So Red Sox projected to win 105 games. That's not surprising. They look incredible. Christian Campbell, they have locked up for a long time, and Crochet has been beastly. They have McClanahan now and Spencer Arrighetti as their number 5 pitcher. So claimed on waivers from Houston. Why did Houston waive him. Just CPU things. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess he was having not a great season, but anyway. All right. Well, that does it for this episode. Join me next time for opening day 2028. I'll see you there.